There can be few people in the world who are so famous for a job they haven't even started. When he does start, Prince Charles will be the 64th sovereign in a family line stretching back over 1,000 years. He may not succeed to the job until he's over 70, but he might be king tomorrow morning. He is heir to 13 thrones. He will be head of a commonwealth that's almost a quarter of the population of the earth. But what exactly is the job that he will one day have to do? So far, very few people have ever seen what the job entails. But now we can. We can follow his mother, the present Queen, through a year. Where shall we start? Let's start with a picture we all know. As familiar as the same head on a penny or a pound note or a postage stamp. It's the Queen's official birthday, early in June. And when it's over, the Queen rides off into the wings, and as far as most of the watching crowds are concerned, she has disappeared. But for her household and staff, she has reappeared.
I think he really knows it better than anybody. He did it all himself.
It went very well.
Anybody else want any carrots? Well, let's see what these do.
We won't win you though.
He hung out on the programme.
He didn't hang out. Well, thank you all very much, sir. Hard work can help.
Buckingham Palace, 9 o'clock in the morning. The Queen is in residence. It was Queen Victoria's idea to have a piper from her beloved Highlands to play outside her window every morning, and it's happened ever since. Most days begin, unspectacularly, at a desk. Part of the unseen job is an office job. The Queen has 5 departments working under her to help run the palace and the monarchy.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, do you think you could bring up those papers that I was looking at yesterday?
Just down the corridor, Prince Philip has his office. As well as assisting the Queen, he has a separate and independent job of his own.
This students' conference at Churchill College, I can't get there except if I fly, is that right?
It's theoretically possible. It's a 3-hour drive, police cars.
But where do I, in fact, leave from to get there?
These are the speeches which you asked me to get typed again.
Yes, because I don't see them like this. I can't read them properly. Well, it seemed to me there was much too much about history in it, which obviously they know.
Yes.
Her own history. Perhaps there wasn't enough about trying to say thank you for, you know, what they'd done. Yes, it's a bit churlish, perhaps, not to thank them for it.
Yes. Buckingham Palace? Post taking paper?
Is it 6 or Berkshire?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Your Majesty, would it be convenient to speak with Mr. Shelley, please? Thank you, Your Majesty.
As a qualified and active pilot, Prince Philip has to keep up his flying hours. In fact, he logs about 200 hours a year, and he's flown 47 different types of aircraft.
What I thought we might do, sir, when we leave, we might go down and do a visual descent into the circuit. Yes, well, I'll tell you what, we'll go downwind a bit and we'll cross over the airfield.
Outside, the guards change and the visitors stare. Behind the famous facade, the morning's work goes on in private. Usually it includes a number of audiences. Today, there's a gold medal for poetry to present.
Mr. Robert Graves, the Poet Laureate, Your Majesty.
Your poetry, madam. Great pleasure to do that.
Thank you very much indeed.
It's also the first time I've been able to do this myself. It's very nice.
Congratulations. You should do it more. But
Well, I hope I shall now.
I hope you will every year.
Yes, it's the only thing that...
May I see this, Robert?
Every audience takes place behind closed doors until the Queen presses the buzzer to show it's over. Then the doors open and the audience has ended. The morning is the usual time for audiences. The Queen holds between 200 and 300 a year. Ambassadors, ministers and judges, service chiefs, bishops, high commissioners, recipients of high awards. A helicopter over Buckingham Palace on a summer morning. Prince Philip is also a qualified helicopter pilot, and he's taking the shortest distance between two appointments. Prince Philip is associated with 16 organizations concerned with flying. It's one of the ways he uses his position as father of the royal family to encourage present-day activities. He has founded the Duke of Edinburgh's Awards. He organizes and presides at conferences on management, nature conservation, science, and so on. Altogether, his patronage covers 382 different organizations, 74 concerned with the sea and sailing. It's 1 o'clock. In the basement of Buckingham Palace, the Queen's lunch sets out on its long journey to her private apartments. 200 yards of corridor, and then a lift up 2 floors. Today, it's a private lunch for 2.
You are responsible for the safety and security of your post. You will prevent any kind of nuisance in its vicinity. You will assist. The civil police have called upon. Even if this means leaving your post to do so, you will not use more force than necessary to carry out your duty.
4 p.m. And the guests are arriving for one of the summer's garden parties. Many of them will discover for the first time that the palace is not a long, straight building, but a square round a quadrangle. "9,000 guests in a private garden in the heart of London." The garden parties began in Queen Victoria's reign. Today, the Queen meets Nigerian research fellows, industrial chemists, anyone, in fact, from a union shop steward to a retired Commonwealth Prime Minister.
How do you feel now that it's retired?
Well, I enjoy it. I've made myself busy enough, you know. I've had a bit of occupation.
What are you going to do now? Where are you going to
Well,
go?
we're here until the end of the month, ma'am.
There are 3 more garden parties to come. Altogether, 30,000 people will see the Queen and her family in their own garden and will dress themselves in the manner they think appropriate. But during the year, the Queen will be seen by millions. Indeed, part of the job is to be seen. and she and her dresser are already planning many months ahead.
Probably the dresses and coats. I would have thought for the state visit to Austria, this might be very useful. Because it's got a wool coat, and in May one never knows, does one? Really? So that something like that, and that one. And this one might possibly keep for Australia, because this is very much the sort of colour.
Splendid, yes.
Because, well, this is a new one, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Did I wear that one?
No.
No.
No, that one's quite new. And that is a dress and jacket.
I was wondering if you couldn't find something for the sapphires. That you could wear with the silver brocade.
Oh, quite
couldn't you?
easily, yes.
So can we remember that?
Yes.
This fascinating necklace, the Timer ruby one. Do wish I could find. I think really one ought to get a dress designed so that one could wear it. Yes. This is the history, of course, is very fascinating. That it belonged to so many of the kings of Persia and Mughal emperors. And it's come all the way down now until Queen Victoria was sent it from India. It's all fascinating. I think. So it'd be nice if one could go on wearing it, I think. Because I have actually worn this, haven't I?
You have worn it, yes.
Into London's Theatreland. It's 8:30 p.m. Prince Philip is speaking at a public dinner. For the Queen and Princess Margaret, it's Covent Garden, the Royal Opera House.
Shall we come upstairs? In the theatre, an enormous number, and
Royal Train, midnight. The train is also an office on wheels, and one of the private secretaries is always on board. The 10 coaches contain 3 working rooms, 3 dining rooms, 5 bathrooms, 3 kitchens, as well as Prince Philip's room and the Queen's room beyond it.
Oh, this is marvellous.
Very nice cartoon, evening paper.
That's just the doll, isn't it?
Yeah. Very agreeable. I like that.
All right for the programme, tomorrow, ma'am.
Yes, I think it looks fine.
Ma'am, I don't find trouble with this. We ought to get it all fairly soon.
The train moves off again at 10:15, and the Queen's having her breakfast at 9 o'clock.
It is all right. It's all right, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very nice.
Round, it should be,
And I've put the afternoon's telegrams on now, and some quite interesting ones.
very much.
the royal visit. They happen in all weathers and all through the year. But summer has been the peak ever since medieval times, when winter travel by land was impossible. Even today, it's still the crown that unites the United Kingdom. It's a long summer of official engagements all over the country.
We can then close the blowout preventers around the pipe. What do you think is a blowout preventer? It does prevent blowouts, exactly that.
Almost as soon as they come back, Prince Philip, of course, is going off to Northern Ireland. He's going...
You're not going to reduce their legs altogether, are you? They seem to be getting short.
We're going up now.
I was beginning to get worried. Well, they were getting to look more like dachshunds every minute.
She's opening a new oil refinery.
Unsound methods of reaching decisions have given the country a top-heavy...
Thank you for explaining it so deeply.
What's the tie? Alcoholics Anonymous?
Actually, she's going to take a hovercraft trip, and Prince Andrew.
For people in the public eye, a ship at sea has a special kind of privacy and permits a greater measure of informality and relaxation for the royal family and the members of the household. Out at sea does not mean out of touch. Every day, a helicopter delivers the state papers to the Britannia. The Queen's page is on duty. His full title, dating from George IV, is Page of the Back Stairs. On royal yachts, the ship's company on the decks above have always worn soft shoes and given orders by hand signals to preserve the peace and quiet below. The Queen's state papers are locked in a red box, a practice dating back to George III. Inside might be final details of the South Wales visit for approval, Foreign Office telegrams, Commonwealth papers, information from our ministers, decisions to be taken, rulings to be given, documents to be signed. The Queen always holds one of the keys of the box. When she's finished, the papers go to another key holder, the private secretary on duty.
Margaret, the box has come from the Queen. Would you bring your book, please? Thank you.
During the rest of the year, the Britannia takes part in naval exercises. And even when the royal family is on board, the training goes on. A slip on this exercise would mean dropping the heir to the throne into the water. A slip on this exercise would mean dropping Princess Anne into the water.
Hey, steady! Fine, yes.
When you get on the strong, when you get to the other end, don't try and help yourself. Let them look after you. Just look around that way. Mind the legs as you go out.
Queen's younger children, Prince Andrew and Prince Edward, are a little too young for naval training. So are Princess Margaret's children.
Stair 262. Stair 262.
Mr. Vice, the Queen.
The Britannia's officers drink the health of their chief passenger, who is not only their sovereign, but also their commander-in-chief. Because the Queen is head of all the services. Balmoral Castle, in the Highlands of Scotland. It's 9 a.m. The Queen is in residence in her traditional summer holiday home. Queen Victoria said of Balmoral, all seem to breathe freedom and peace, and to make one forget the world and its sad turmoils. Today, the world and its sad turmoils arrive every morning from London in the red boxes. The Queen is on holiday, but not off duty.
Now, that's the only thing for signature this morning, and that's a British Empire Medal for gallantry. Sergeant Ditchfield was 5 days and nights in charge of this particular extinguishing operation, and he obviously...
It's wonderful, wonderful story, this, isn't it?
Yes, RAF Regiment don't often get an opportunity of this sort of thing. These are some more of the World Health Organization stamps. I mean, remember who did the Dominica ones yesterday? These are Fiji. Those are the actual size. Yes, finished stamp will be.
Yeah, the good ones. What do you really have? Molly. Ice cream. Ice cream. This is what he really would like. Yes, you always go straight for ice cream. Yes. Well, would you like to go and get one? Have you got any bullseyes? No, put that. I see, remember the last time which you walked through, it was raining too. They were all soggy, weren't they? Have you had a lot of people in here? Has there been a lot of... Very busy summer. How much is it? Could you possibly... Changes. That's all I want. Thank you. Here. Thanks very much. You are. Yes, you can do that first, Craig. We'll take it to the car. Thank you very much. It's disgusting. Just a gooey mess. It's going to be in the car, isn't it?
North, do you realise this is guaranteed failure? Absolute safety guaranteed failure. I mean, the car's not going to be a cushion, is it?
This edges up and smaller bits. This time. There she is.
What's that stuff?
Cream.
Did you put cream in it?
Later.
Come on. Right, Mummy, would you be...
What's this for? What's this for?
Well, it's for helping things, turning things over and doing that.
Meeting in the mirror. Not for you
Well,
today?
it's difficult, yes. We've got a better device.
Where?
Right. Do that way.
What's the spoon for? What's the spoon for?
Well, it's not much use for anything here today.
What's the spoon for?
There. Oh, why have they done that?
Here's the trouble.
Oh, I love it.
What did you cut there?
I cut the lettuce, but there's the cutting it. What do you think of that?
Oily.
Too oily. More vinegar. All right.
Yeah, all right, we're coming. There's a lot of meat cooking.
Very little happening to them. Rather cold and isolated up there.
I can climb on the roof, Papa.
So we can do that.
That is the prettiest face I have yet seen.
On the roof. I'm waiting for my lunch to arrive down at the bottom. Daddy goes in there.
The salad is ready.
Good. This is as she isn't.
Autumn at Buckingham Palace. Back to the office. The palace is in full swing again, but not for long. On the other side of the equator, summer is just beginning, and South America is waiting. 8 a.m. just off Rio de Janeiro. Beyond the morning mist, Brazil. 90 million people who've scarcely heard of Britain and never seen a queen. As well as meeting the Brazilians, there were the British citizens at the embassy, most of whom had never been to Britain in their lives.
This is the commercial section now. We're grouped here from here.
You can't tell, though, can you, to look at it?
Yes, we've got the largest number in the embassy of Brazilian staff. And most of our work is in Portuguese.
Oh, exactly.
We're working very hard at the moment on the Sao Paulo exhibition.
Oh, that's keeping you occupied.
It's our main preoccupation.
And you sold all the space, have you?
Practically.
How long have you been here?
I've been with the council 11 years now.
11 years.
These scholarships are offered by the Brazilians, and there are in fact only 2.
Are there any Latin American departments developing in any of the universities?
Mrs. Price, my personal assistant. Mrs. Sebastian,
Which one most junior?
During the tour, the Britannia was anchored in Rio Harbour, a tiny piece of Britain where the Queen could return the hospitality of the Brazilians and their president. Another place for conversations between 2 heads of state, and all the practical good which can follow when 2 countries put their heads together.
To rise and drink to the health of the President of the Federative Republic of Brazil.
Thank you.
Very good health, President.
Eu pedi licença à Sua Majestade para dizer-lhe thank you. My English is no good. Thank you, Your Majesty.
That's very nice.
One tour over, another ahead.
Would you like to have another look at the other speech, the one you altered this morning? Well, we put in the alteration.
We'll just start it off.
That goes in there.
I think it's really been practically a saturation cover of the visit in the local paper.
This man never said anything.
Sports part of the paper. I don't think you can have featured very often on sporting pages as you do today. And there are 1 or 2 pictures of the embassy reception and the samba.
Oh, yes, not pair of dogs. I rather think, we ought to have a pair of dogs like that. They're very decorative, aren't they?
A bit more spectacular than corgis, aren't they?
Well, they look spectacular. They're not nearly so nice. They've got very, very odd at the top of my head there.
Yeah, it looks rather like Carmen Miranda, doesn't it? How did your Portuguese come on while you were in Brazil?
Not very well. I always wish I could read newspapers when I see them,
That wasn't a badly rained.
Yeah, that was very good, wasn't it? With all those lovely rose petals.
Rather heavy ones. They came blob, blob.
I now know what it feels like to be, I've often wondered what at the Festival of Remembrance, the people who stand in the middle of the arena, and all the poppies come pattering down on their heads. I now know what it feels like.
Across the Andes to Santiago in Chile. No British sovereign has ever set foot here before. A whole country is waiting. First to go aboard is Chile's chef de protocol, accompanied by the British ambassador.
Hi, Fred. Very nice to you. Very nice. Mariano.
Good morning, sir.
How are you?
Good morning, sir.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Morning.
Good morning.
Hello, Mariano.
Hello.
Hello, Mariano.
Thank you very much. It's very nice to be here. Lovely day, too. Isn't it? Are they ready?
Right.
Crowds waited all day and every day, outside a hotel whose 14th floor had become a temporary royal residence.
Yes, he's coming with us. That's right. Lady Fairfax will be riding car number 2 and Lady Rosebery in car number 3.
So would I and number 3 both together, I think?
No, I think the best answer will be if you'll go with Lord Chalfont.
Number 3.
Number 2. Number 2. The language is different with the Spanish.
I don't have a read translation, you understand? Atención. Atención presente.
There's some rudery about being playing polo. Can you translate what they say? He's the Admiral.
This happened to me because I'm playing polo with Philip. I have to ride a horse.
"14 Guards of Honor, 18 God Save the Queens, 9 speeches delivered, 4 wreath layings, 12 journeys by air, 79 journeys by road. During the tour, the Queen and Prince Philip shook hands 2,500 times. 2,500 people shook hands with the Queen and Prince Philip just once. "23 different receptions, lunches, dinners, banquets, 8 finishes after midnight. A total of 104 separate engagements in 14 days.
Mucho te llevaste, mas por eso no te riño. Si algo grande me dejaste, si algo grande me dejaste, fue una pena y un cariño. Si algo grande me dejaste, si algo grande me dejaste, fue una pena y un cariño.
If it is raining, you'll stand in your sentry box and pay compliments by coming to attention. You'll not cut or deface your sentry box.
The English winter and the Queen is home again. They're changing guard at Buckingham Palace. All those blank windows that visitors have stared at week after week and year after year, knowing perfectly well they could never see what goes on behind them. Now we can. We can look at the inner workings of the busiest royal palace in the world. The Lord Chamberlain is the man responsible to the Queen for the official working of Buckingham Palace. All the 5 departments come under him.
Morning, morning, Lord.
Thank you so much.
First, there's the office of the private secretary. Next, there's the keeper of the privy purse, responsible for money. Then the Lord Chamberlain's own department, responsible for ceremonial and all aspects of the monarchy on show to the public. This includes the priceless art collection, close on 20,000 paintings and drawings. Charles I began it, George III, George IV, and the Prince Consort improved it, and it's still growing. Fourth comes the Crown Equerries Department, responsible for transportation. No other cars in the world can have been so stared at, so photographed, or have travelled so far, so slowly. Previous monarchs have been reluctant to get rid of state coaches. The result is one of the world's finest collections of antique coaches and carriages, still in regular use for ceremonial occasions.
I think I won't worry Her Majesty with that one today.
Finally, there's the largest department of all, the Master of the Household. He runs the palace. Under him come pages, footmen, butlers, under-butlers, yeomen of the wine cellars, yeomen of the pantries, the royal chef, the royal pastry chef, the controller of supply, and the housekeepers. Some of the sheets still in use were Queen Victoria's. Some of the blankets were William IV's.
And Charles, has this all been checked? Yes, most of it's been checked. Most of it's been checked. It's just
This is the livery we use Ascot Week for the dinners, and the dinners on the yacht, with black trousers.
That's very bad. It's been worn by somebody. It was too big for the uniform. There's been too much strain on the seam.
Embroidery's kept very well on these.
I think they're probably good for another 5 years anyway.
36 bottles of pop, it's also on a Burberry for Windsor. And also...
Entertaining is a major function of every head of state.
I suggest that we go in for something plain and simple to start with, like a cream of vegetable soup of some type.
Nuclear soup.
Now, what would you recommend?
Consomme madeleine.
Now, the main course, I think we ought to go in for lamb on this occasion.
Yes, I think
and that was that, and now the sweet. Pineapples are very good.
We can do it like we did when we were on the South African tour.
With the pineapple cut in half.
Cut in half, long ways.
Right.
And refilled and shaped.
So we can call that ananas glacé.
Yeah.
Royale.
Very little of the royal plate dates from before Charles II, because Charles I minted nearly all of it to pay his troops in the Civil War. And then George IV redesigned most of what was left. Beyond the silver pantry is the gold pantry, for even more splendid occasions.
What about 20 candelabras for our springs, plus all our usual ice pails, pies. Of course, we'll need all our large candelabras, about 20 of those we'll have to put in. And we'll set it up in exactly the same, our shields, behind the throne, everything the same. And it should make rather a nice, I think, really nice setting for it.
All this and a lot more comes under the master of the household. And not only here. He's responsible for the household wherever it is. Sandringham, Balmoral, Windsor, Holyrood, or even on the Britannia.
There's a lot of people coming tonight.
Yeah, quite a lot. I've got a tent and then I'd like to show you. It's for improving the canteen for the staff at Windsor Castle.
This would be where the sort of, which could be used during the day, not only.
That's what I had in mind.
Canteen is
yes,
empty.
ma'am, and that not only women, but where it would be more the atmosphere of a restaurant than of a pub, which is what this is, and much appreciated.
There is.
And make this bigger too.
Because this is very small at the moment, isn't
It's
it?
much too small, particularly at certain times of year when for state
there's
visits
lots
and
of
so
people.
forth. It's very awful squash. And then there's the question now about the visit to the President of the United States. The music room for lunch, do you think?
I should think that would be a very good place for lunch. We don't want a very big party, I don't think.
No, that's what I understood,
So
yes.
Because I imagine it'll be a very busy day for him anyway, so
Yes,
he doesn't want to make it
long,
too big.
When a new ambassador comes to present his credentials, all 5 departments have a hand. The Crown Equerry sends the coaches. The Lord Chamberlain's department arranges the ceremony. The private secretaries liaise with the Foreign Office. The master of the household prepares the rooms. And the keeper of the privy purse foots the bill. All over the world, the reception of ambassadors is extremely formal. This is to make sure they are all treated exactly the same and have no cause to complain that their country is being slighted.
Mr. Leesmere.
Hello, nice to see you again.
I think he met you.
I hope you had a reasonably good bit of sleep after the long delay. I was terribly worried about you at that hour in the morning.
Lord Plunkett, Lord Chamberlain, Colonel Penn.
Oh, I see, Colonel Penn.
Now, Excellency, now take your hat. And Sir Dennis Green, Your Excellency.
Just met the other day.
Now we go slowly up here. But one a good view of the guards.
The new ambassador is equally anxious to keep to the time-honored formula. And the Marshal of the Diplomatic Corps and his aides have been through it all 100 times before.
I'm just going to dust a little stuff up there.
Oh, thank you.
First of all, the permanent undersecretary goes in, then your ambassador goes in.
And when the doors open, we all take a pace forward with the left
foot.
Left. Then you walk up to the Queen, who is 6 or 7 paces away. She holds out her hand, you shake her hand, bow again. You turn and walk to the door, you turn round and bow once more.
Another little bow, you shake hands. Transfer the credentials to the right hand.
Just a little bit of England now in the United States. People lined up on the streets. It was so exciting.
The American ambassador, Your Majesty.
Your Majesty, I have the honor to present the letters of recall of my predecessor and my own letters of credence.
Thank you very much indeed. Keep them. You're not living in the embassy at the moment?
We're in the embassy residence, subject, of course, to some of the discomfiture as a result of a need for elements of refurbishing, rehabilitation.
Would you present the members of your
Oh, I'd
staff?
be delighted to have them come.
It's not just when new ambassadors call that everything has to be right. All through the year, the staff are preparing for one sort of occasion or another. Kinds of functions vary. The standard mustn't. The biggest event of the winter is the diplomatic evening in November, when representatives of all the foreign embassies are received at Buckingham Palace. It was a big enough event even before the war, when there were only 22 embassies and high commissions. Now it's grown to 107 countries, and that means welcoming 1,400 guests. The diplomatic evening is one of the most splendid occasions of the season. The ambassadors are accredited not to the British government, but to the court of St. James's, and it is a courtly occasion.
Right, all right, we'll say we're ready to go.
I'm ready.
On this evening, all the royal family will meet all the ambassadors and most of their staff.
Ah,
Good evening. The Chilean ambassador.
are you in one piece?
In one piece. I arrived last night.
I can't think how you're all right.
My daughter, you know.
We had such a marvelous time. I hear it was wonderful. Absolutely splendid. Thank you very
They're
much.
still shouting Viva la Reina.
Well, we had a little telegram to say that things were going all right. No, it was really nice.
Good evening, ma'am. Could I present our press secretary, Don Gonzalo Guerra?
Square one, really.
We're enjoying it very much.
You've not been here very long yet, have you? Yes. Where are you actually staying?
We're living at RAF Uxbridge.
This is the only annual event when all the 9 staterooms are in use at the same time. The unofficial engagements have to be fitted in where they can. In this case, an early morning visit to the Berkshire Downs.
That's the sort of pace he enjoys.
You should have found a job for him to do, I think. Good. Friendly society. Good. You won't go any faster. No. He doesn't go any faster than that, I'm afraid.
This is the bit. Prince Philip wants a polo pony. This is the one for him. Get that. He's absolutely marvellous.
He's got quite good action, that horse, hasn't he?
Yes, I think he might make a jumper.
Mm-hmm.
This is Country Dance, ma'am, this side.
Oh, Country Dance this side, yes.
And National Park, that's the Nashua Falls, the other side.
Not all official engagements are formal. The British Olympic team, winners and losers alike, found themselves rubbing shoulders with many members of the royal family, and for all these young people, the conversation was unexpectedly relaxed.
Did you watch a lot of it on television? A great deal. And the son was telling us she did it at breakfast. She did it at breakfast and I did it at night. Do you enjoy athletics? Or, you know, I do, yes. Do you? I must say it's particularly good if you can sit at home and watch it like that. That's the way to do it. Where do you train?
Well, I live in Derby, and we have a club there. But Aldi is a national coach. He sort of comes up. Thank you.
What a great reception, I suppose.
Well, you asked not to applaud.
Oh, in case you were there. Just going to be able to go in about half an hour to something else. So you see like another wing way there. You couldn't put it down.
We've been over the edge. I haven't, no. Some riders have. An ecstasy of excitement.
really up and down saying, is it lovely weather? And you're in the middle of a snowstorm. It's quite amazing.
Yes, he does. Yes, he knows about that sort of skiing.
The year draws on, and it's nearly Christmas. The household is on the move to Windsor. When the royal family moves, about 100 of the staff and household go with them. The alternative would be to keep all the palaces and residences permanently staffed. For exactly the same reason, medieval and Tudor monarchs took their court and retinue with them when they progressed round the country. The first Windsor Castle was built here 900 years ago by William the Conqueror. Most of the present castle still dates back to the 14th century.
Put most of the cooks up in the clock tower.
So the court moves to Windsor.
Yeah. And then Mr. Aubrey, the royal chef, I've put him in Edward III's
Oh, yeah. All right.
tower.
That's fine.
The Queen is in her castle, the Irish Guards are on parade, and it's Christmas Eve. Christmas at Windsor is a family reunion, but also a sort of office party. Throughout the year, all branches of the family, in their different ways, have been working at the family business. By the sort of accident that happens in families, they are different enough in age and inclinations to reflect a wider variety of interest than a single person ever could. They come from different generations, they move in different worlds. The Duchess of Kent, for instance, is a Yorkshire woman, patron of Yorkshire Cricket Club and York Civic Trust, and Chancellor of Leeds University.
Good morning, Patrick. Oh, thank you, Robert. And George?
Good morning. Nice to see you.
Good morning, darling.
Yeah, good morning.
The Duke of Kent is a serving soldier, and he's already represented the Queen at 5 Commonwealth independence celebrations. Mr. Angus Ogilvy is a businessman. Princess Alexandra, among other things, continues the family association with hospitals, Red Cross and nursing organizations.
Hello. Whoa.
You okay? Right. Well, Clive Street. Which do you like best, darling? Which out of them?
Lord Snowdon and Princess Margaret can't match the Queen Mother's 300 organizations, but they're connected with many, especially from the world of the arts.
Which is your favourite?
And she's so pretty, don't you think she is?
And then at the beginning, Nan, they weren't hung like that, were they?
No,
they were.
They were all parted. They were hung right high up.
And what happened?
Well, King thought they'd better go back, as the Prince originally wished them to.
Which one do you like better?
That one.
Why?
It was it because she's curling her back.
Because what?
Because she's like this.
I think that'll be strong enough. You see, this is strong enough to... Get off. Oh, that's all fine. What do you mean, Stella?
Come around this side. Nasty feeling, isn't it? None of bronze left. No, we'll never get it off again. That's fine. Lovely.
After 4 nights at Windsor, Sandringham. a commercial farm, and a private royal home. Sandringham is not the property of the state, like Windsor and Buckingham Palace. Indeed, George VI had to buy it from his brother Edward VIII. Dear old Sandringham, George V called it. And George VI wrote, I want Lilibet and Philip to get to know it too, as I've always been so happy here, and I love the place. And he died here.
Stop making them hard.
Sandringham is the most private of all the royal homes. And just as Balmoral means summer, so Sandringham means winter and a brief holiday.
Yes, try. Yes, try. You must. Yes, you must. Mommy, puppy.
Well, we'll see if she's allowed out in the snow. And they can play about in it. We're going to play fall on Emma, yes?
Emma, yes.
Now?
Yes, Emma.
Yes, so let's go and play fall on her.
I've seen it already. Yeah.
And Mrs. Bacon, too.
Yeah. That one takes very long.
Jump! Jump!
This is my one.
Yours?
Yeah.
Not that big ears and that big paws.
Let me be tell you about this. Except you are making a fair mess of my jacket. Won't you be?
This one makes good noises. Is it?
Sounds like a tiger.
That's right. You know what these are called? Strings. And this inside, the way it's shaped, gives it the sound, which goes... It's quite a good tone, you see? Oh! Come right here. Come and look here. You see what happens up here? Look here. See what happens in here. See when I wind that? See? It's tightening the string.
Can't see.
Don't you? There you are. See? Oh! All right? Did he hit you?
Yes.
Oh.
Why did that go?
I'm sorry, it's all right.
Sandringham Church is only 100 yards outside the gates. Church on Sunday is rather more than a family occasion. The Queen is supreme governor of the Church of England, and all bishops and archbishops pay homage to her. And throughout the country at this same moment, thousands of other congregations are walking home from church, having just prayed for the health of our most gracious sovereign lady, Queen Elizabeth, and all the royal family. The years-long round of duties takes the Queen and Prince Philip away from their children more than most parents. So they try and preserve the holidays as times when the whole family can be together.
School dances and church parties and bar mitzvahs I don't like the higher road. What have you got against hiring
Sounds like
Sounds like your hair. Dark hair. Blonde hair. Now hair. Then what happened? Oh.
Ed.
Oh. Well, I think you'd better try another employment. He's going to pick.
The new year at Buckingham Palace. Christmas holidays are over and it's back to work. As Prince Philip once put it, the royal family is living over the shop again. The lady-in-waiting is back answering letters for the Queen.
Dear Jane, I'm commanded by the Queen to thank you for your letter. Majesty thought it was so nice of you to invite her to your birthday party. The Queen is very sorry that she'll not be able to come.
Just as far as Colonel Shoe goes, please.
New Year's honours, among them a knighthood for the inventor of the holocraft. Recommendations for honours come through the government, but it's the sovereign who bestows them.
Sir Christopher Cockerell. Sir Frederick Hayday.
There are 13 investitures in the year. Altogether, about 2,000 people, watched by their admiring families, receive their honours personally from the Queen.
The most excellent order of the British Empire.
The new year and a new term. The children are back at school. The only one still at home is Prince Edward. He's 5 and in a private class in the palace with some cousins and friends.
He lives with us.
Eh?
A little of
No. Not too well.
boy. The cat lived with Flip in a house that down the streets.
Yes, very nice indeed, Edward. You did read nicely. Goodbye. Now, you go back to your place. Sarah, would you like to come and read to me?
Prince Andrew is 9 and has gone to boarding school. Unlike the Queen herself, this generation of royal children is not being educated privately by tutors.
Lock the wing, lock the wing. Prince Andrew, lock the wing.
I call you through.
Princess Anne was at boarding school too. Since then, she's been learning French, the language of diplomacy, and for royalty, a craft skill.
Et quand vous allez à ce musée scientifique? Non. La dernière fois, je suis allée, c'est la dernière fois, mais forcément, avec les autres filles de l'école.
D'autres jeunes filles du collège.
Regardez les pierres et les roches.
As well as school and university, Prince Charles's education has included travel abroad and many activities such as flying. His parents don't believe in special training for the monarchy, only broad preparation. So all this comes on top of a varied life at Cambridge and the work for his degree in history.
What sort of things do you do? Is it just going around, taking off and going around the aerodrome and landing again? That's right.
Does do you wear a parachute? Have you been told how to use it? Rather the same sensation as being a spider in a cobweb.
I always thought you had a sort of thing like a loo chain which you pull, to undo it. In fact, it's about, you pull it across, like that. And it's frankly funny because if there is an emergency, in order to get out, first of all you've got to undo your seat belt, you see.
Yes.
Then you've got to sort of But there's a way, and you pull back the hood, which gets stuck. It takes off the instructor's head on the word. And then by that time, you're about this much off the ground. You then try to jump out, dive.
May we take the Newton Park Estate Church Farm next, which is an attractive stone-built building, but it's not really suitable for a farm.
Besides being Prince of Wales, he is also Duke of Cornwall. The duchy owns 130,000 acres in the west of England, as well as certain other property like the Oval Cricket Ground. Prince Charles holds his own council, though until he's 21, the Queen takes the chair.
Right. I mean, this is a farmhouse that is sellable. I mean, it would make good.
It wants an awful lot doing, but in fact the price is reasonably satisfactory. Now, the other thing I think we might turn to next, which is of considerable greater size, is the manor of Kennington and the development of the Oval. In consideration for surrendering their lease, the Duchy would grant a new lease to the cricket club at a nominal rent. Would Mr. Bryant now come forward and demonstrate all this scheme on the model here?
This part of it is the pavilion, ma'am, with seats for 4,000 members in 2 tiers, one at the top here and one underneath, which is covered. There are the boxes here for the press and for television.
And these are flats?
These are flats, mainly in these 5 blocks, 4 there and this very high one.
And what about the middle, during the winter, when the cricket's not going on? That'll just be free.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
It looks very difficult for concentration on cricket, I would have thought this. You know, playing out there, don't you? Well, it'll be very interesting if that goes through.
This, then, is the preparation. Preparation for what? What, finally, is the constitutional role of sovereign for which Prince Charles is being prepared? First, the sovereign and the law. Justice is administered in the Queen's name. If politicians run the courts, liberty is in danger. While the Queen is head, the judges are secure, and changing governments can't dismiss them. So it's the Queen's bench, Queen's council, the Queen's justices. Then the sovereign and Parliament, the highest authority in the land. By far the most important practical link between the Queen and her government is the Tuesday evening visit of the Prime Minister to Buckingham Palace.
Here are the latest ones.
The Prime Minister sets out from Downing Street on the same 1,000-yard journey that his predecessors have made for over 200 years, even when Buckingham Palace was the smaller Buckingham House. This is the journey Churchill made in the dark days of the war to talk to George VI. The journey Asquith used to make during the Great War to see George V. The journey Disraeli made 100 years before Harold Wilson to discuss the Eastern question with Queen Victoria. The journey Lord North used to make to tell George III about the troubles with the American colonies. It is the moment when democracy and monarchy meet. The sovereign has no power to alter the Prime Minister's plans, but is entitled to be consulted, to encourage and to warn. A young or new sovereign can do little of either. An older one may have knowledge and experience going back well beyond the Prime Ministers. The present Queen has already received 5 Prime Ministers. The first was Sir Winston Churchill in 1952.
Majesty will receive you, Prime Minister. Prime Minister, Your Majesty.
ask questions before I go away.
Yes. When do you actually set off?
Thursday morning, crack of dawn.
Might be.
I was just looking, I'm not sure if you had the latest telegram.
Don't think I've seen them yet.
After the opening courtesies, the meeting, like all such audiences, takes place behind closed doors and in total secrecy. And it's the same when the Commonwealth Prime Ministers come to London for their conference.
Prime Minister of Jamaica, Your Majesty.
Come, have a seat. Well, it's very nice to have a chance of seeing you here.
Well, it's a pleasure a special honor for me to be with Your Majesty.
When did you arrive?
Oh, I came in two mornings ago from Jamaica.
And you've had one session this morning, have you? With the,
we had an opening session this morning, and we resume at 3:30 when we begin the agenda in earnest. Your Majesty, could I take the opportunity of conveying to the
Prime Minister of New Zealand, Your Majesty.
But now you have the moon, and a man knows within a split second when he's going to arrive back after 500,000 miles of travel.
I think that I'd still like to travel a little further.
President of Tanzania, Your Majesty.
Mauritius is new. Then you have Guyana is new.
He's been here once before. Makes an interesting cross-section.
I think we're all there, from all the continents, from Asia and Africa.
President of Uganda, Your Majesty.
One thing we haven't discussed, and I suppose is going to be discussed this year, is traveling in the Commonwealth. We are going to discuss something about the youth, exchange of youth and youth activities in the Commonwealth.
Prime Minister of Canada, Your Majesty.
Enjoy that. Well, I hope this afternoon will be interesting.
It will. I hope it will be brief in terms of each man's participation. I don't like long speeches.
Prime Minister of the Gambia, Your Majesty. Prime Minister of Malta, Your Majesty. Prime Minister of Lesotho, Your Majesty. Prime Minister of India, Your Majesty. Prime Minister of Ceylon, Your Majesty.
Prime Minister of Sierra Leone.
Prime Minister of Barbados.
You anyway have a certain number of people sitting with you, don't you?
It's called exponential growth.
Well,
I don't know what it means, but I love the phrase.
As I find Dewsdown, we now find that 4 days or something. I need to see everybody in there.
The Sovereign and the Commonwealth. The Queen is Queen of 13 Commonwealth countries and head of all 28, 800 million people. One of the countries present had broken off diplomatic relations with Britain, but this was the Commonwealth, where the Queen represents not the arguments that divide governments, but the sentiments that unite peoples.
2 or 3 years ago.
Last time I drove with the Prime Minister in the car in England, she fell asleep on me. Really did. But I've been very ill. I meant to take a pep pill, and I've taken a sleeping dog.
The Sovereign and the rest of the world. The Queen is head of state and receives visiting heads of state, in this case, the President of the United States. His right to office goes back to a political election 4 months before. Her right to office goes back to the grandfather of Alfred the Great.
Oh, yes, I've heard. Yes, I've seen them on television.
Probably seen it on the
Yes. Well, Howard, so happy to. See, I was just saying to Her Majesty, I've seen you on television.
I think it's neutral. I've seen you sometimes.
That's right.
Land.
Yes, you do.
I don't think you've seen me on television. It sounds like we're going to have very, very busy few days.
Yes, we were...
And the world problems are so complex, aren't they now?
Yes, yes. You know, I was thinking how really much more complex they are than when we last met in 1950. As you've traveled, you must have seen that, haven't you?
You hardly recognize they're in the same place anymore.
That's right, that's right. And each time you go, you know, they give you the briefing books. And I was thinking how different the briefing books were this year from what they were before.
I mean,
that's right.
You must notice it much more, of course.
Yeah.
Sense on the fringe.
That's right. Of course, when you're out, you know, I was out really for, out of power, that is. But I traveled a bit, but it's very different when you're now in government again and having to check it all out.
May we offer a very small
I am
token of a memento of your visit here?
I am so delighted to have that, and I'm afraid that I have one there, which that's the official picture.
That's very kind of you.
But I tell you what I would like to do.
I think it's fair exchange.
If you will permit me, because I didn't bring my wife along this time because this trip was so hurried.
Yes.
She normally comes. But we just had a picture of the two of us taken that is very good, and I'd like to send you one of that, because it'd be much more pleasant to look at the two of us than just me alone.
Shall we go and join the others?
Yes, shall we go and join the others, and then you can meet them. In fact, you've been with all the people who are coming tonight.
Yes.
Come on.
Fine.
What awful television appearance.
What's that?
What awful television appearance.
Oh, no, just the news shots, you
Just
know.
the news?
Oh, yes. You know, when you were in Australia and yes, and all the rest. And both of my daughters follow you both very closely. Yes. That's right, that's right.
I'm sure one day longer.
Yes.
How is your
Julie,
family,
yes.
wife?
They're just, you see, Julie, the older person. It's spring once again, and the Queen's year comes full circle. Ahead lie more meetings, more occasions, more travel. Austria, Scotland, Wales, and the Commonwealth, Australia, New Zealand. More pageantry, more ceremony. This is not the panoply of power, but while the Queen occupies the highest office of state, no one else can. While she is head of the law, no politician can take over the courts. While she is head of the state, no generals can take over the government. While she is head of the services, no would-be dictator can turn the army against the people. The strength of the monarchy does not lie in the power it gives the sovereign, but in the power it denies to anyone else. It is all this that Prince Charles will one day inherit. You could call it a high and solemn destiny. Or you could say that he will just be carrying on the family business, which doesn't mean being solemn all the time.
No, she was trying so hard not to laugh.
When your mother was staying and tipped up into a lap, Osborne when she was very old, and the ambassador came into the Durbar room, that great long room, and he skidded, and he landed, feet first at the bottom of the steps of the throne, and all the others, having the most terrible trouble to avoid exploding in laughter. The only thing that they could notice with the Queen Victoria was that she was just trembling the slightest little bit as all this was going on, but she never gave any sign of. And afterwards, of course, there was the tears poured down her cheeks. She had this incredible control. She did be able to do that. Because my father also, he had terrible trouble.
Oh, he did have some very strange habits, your father. I remember when I used to come up to Royal Lodge, I asked when I arrived on, I said, where's the king? And they said, oh, he's in the garden. And I went out and there's nothing to be seen except a lot of terribly rude words and language coming out of a rhododendron bush. So I actually found him there hacking away, wearing a bearskin cap. Which was, he was getting ready. Yes. You'll know whether to laugh or to cry. If you can sort of pretend to blow your nose and in fact hold it too low.
It is extremely difficult sometimes to keep a straight face when the Home Secretary with his hand over his face. And he came in beforehand, like they do, and he said to me, there's a gorilla coming in.
So I said, what an extraordinary remark to make, very unkind about anybody. And so, I stood in the middle of the room and pressed the bell and the doors opened, and there was a grown-up. And I had the most terrible trouble in keeping, he had short body, long arms, and very...
But he was dressed, I think.
And I had the most appalling trouble, because nobody else knew except me what he said, you see.
I mean, if that happened to me, I'd have to dissolve. I don't know what I'd have to walk out.
We cannot know what Prince Charles will make of it. Over the centuries, his family has provided some sovereigns who will be remembered forever, and a few who are best forgotten. But if he needs help, there is 1,000 years of family experience to call on.